YouTube, what is going on? Venture Bro here with another YouTube video. I'm getting some comments about why I took down the 8.8 energy video, so I'm going to address that right off the back. When I was speaking about accumulation, true volume, the volume and the shorting, I did not articulate it correctly, and I don't want my first video to look like some insane guy that's talking about crazy shit. Anyways, today we're going to be talking about RGBP, and we're also going to be taking a look at a trend I find very, very interesting that's been happening on the OTC since Ramble, which happened back in November. So let's put some timestamps. If you don't want to hear about my opinions on RGBP, but I'll save the good stuff for the end. And yeah, let's jump right into it. So RGBP, latest runner in the OTC, running about 800% and then another 800%, totaling for I think a maximum of 2,500%. On this stock, I did not just buy and hold. I caught this at around 004. By the time it was at 006, it had, I just had opened it. And by the time, I searched the stock on Twitter, it was already at 008. Had done its dip, was still running. And I looked at it and I said, what are the odds this thing breaks 1? So we waited for it to break 1. It did. I shoved. We went to 1.3. I sold for 30%. Let it come down. We set a resistance, a support at the 1 cent line, which it was going up and down on. And the key here is it's hovering around 1. It's dipping, but it's not going. So we bought that. Twitter was blowing up about it. Figured we had a runner. We held till the end of the day. We got to around 2 and we hit a resistance. So we sold around here after we did not see the hammering. And then we rebought at the end of the day with the profits we made, free money, on the odds that this run continued, which it did. From that point, our run continued from about 1.3-ish all the way to 8 cents. We're going to be talking about this 8 cent number, which I find very funny. Seems to be very prevalent on the OTC. Since the big rise up to 8 cents, we have seen consistent dumping, market movers getting involved. We got a tabletop here with a gap closing. But we are on a downtrend. Now this downtrend, I don't know how long it's going to go on for. I rebought at 2.9. I was waiting for the opportunity to get in there at that price. With this stock, I think it's a bit different than 8.8 energy. We were waiting for the news on 8.8 energy. In addition, we had a weekend where you were basically forced to hold or rebuy at a higher price, which in itself is a recipe for disaster. I personally did lose on ENF, but I decided to go down with the ship. So we have RGBP, bit of a different story here. We have more news coming up. We have something in the pipeline for the 20th, I believe. I believe that is the ONPH. That is the first payment where RGBP will get paid in cash and shares. In my opinion, something like that is bound to bring on the next level of investors. So I expect to see a little bit of price action there. In addition, it looks like we're hitting a bottom around the point here. You can see a high of 278. We got a low of, where's this? We got a low of 295, which is pretty damn close to our last peak before the gapping and the rising started, which is a good indicator on this being bullish. In addition to that, we have another bottom that formed around the 285. Moreover, I'm going to talk about this big red spike, which is looking like 80 million shares were dumped around here. And now we have 75 million shares bought right at the end of the close around the 16th. Now what do these spikes tell you? Well, right here it tells you someone dumped a lot of shares, tried to push the price down. The price, however, is not going below 0.28, which means whoever tried to dump here tried to scare the price down, was very unsuccessful. The price actually started going up, coming down to about 3 cents. So there's a good chance, whether this was a single individual or a group. When I say group, I don't know who it is. It could be the Atlas Group, it could be the gang of Timothy Skies or Nathan. Could be Wall Street or Jane Street, not really sure. But you got to look at the volumes, because without the large amount of accumulated shares, these stocks do not move. So anyways, like I said, we did rebuy on this dip here. We made a bullish play. I actually didn't get my bid filled until a bit higher, but we did make some money right here. We sold. Continued the downtrend. I'm waiting for the date of April 20th, which is on Tuesday, coming up. And I think we're going to have a bottom here, and we're going to see it rise anywhere from 5 to 6 cents is a modest estimate. But on the other hand, it is possible whoever just bought here is going to dump the living hell out of the stock, close these gaps, and at that point you'd be looking at a rebuy of possibly 185. If it breaks that, it's going to down here to 1.4. But I'm going to be bullish on this, and I'm going to say that RGBP is actually going to get bought out by ONPH. So it's April 20th date. Where does this come from? I forget where the article is, but on one of their SEC filings, they stated that they will be paying Regen $55K, which isn't much, but it's on April 20th. And then 50,000 shares of ONPH on April 20th, which is going to be pretty big news. So on this stock right now, I'm trying to find where the bottom's going to be. It's looking like 2.8. I don't think it's going to break this. Right here, imagine a line going from here to here. That's going to be your accumulation area. But that can change. It can just nosedive for no reason. Tactics such as pressure selling or stop loss activation, which is where you see these huge slides, are just two of many tactics that you can use to bring down a stock price. Anyway, so we're going to talk about how long we have to hold this stock and where it is heading. So we're going to talk about the Elliott wave principle, which states that collective investor psychology or crowd psychology moves a stock in sequences. So on this stock, it's very possible that this stock is going to behave like so. It's going to go up, hit its peak, come down, reload, move to its third, peak, reload, hit a fifth, then come barreling down. Most likely hitting the lowest highs, or sorry, the highest highs while it's coming down, peaking. Play it how you want. But if you don't know about this Elliott wave principle, familiarize yourself with it, because it does have a place in application on some stocks, not all stocks. But if you're buying in now, you also need to consider that you don't have a position here, right? And I did forfeit my position on this one, so my buy here is very high risk. So as much as I'm bullish on RGBP, you have to play the stock accordingly. You know, when it's going up, you have to watch to make sure it doesn't come back down past your buy, especially if you're not holding here anymore. We might see a second spike up here past breaking 8, or we could continue the downtrend. Monday will tell. This accumulation with volume is a very good sign. That is a lot of shares. And speaking of the volume, I want to quickly talk about what happened with this story, because it's very familiar with 2EENF. I'm going to show you all where I got this data quickly. Came from the OTC short report. And again, we're looking at the area between what's being shorted and what is not. And this area here tells you, if the accumulation is higher than the actual shorting. It is a rough figure because you don't know if the person who's bought too high is selling over here because, oh shit, I lost money, or who's buying where and who's selling what. But it does give you a picture. So you scroll down and you see your historic short volume data for RGBP. And we're bringing up the graph. So we've taken all that data, we put into an Excel. We know how many float shares are in RGBP. You get that information off of Yahoo Finance. Float 568 million. So we have a float of 500 million. By totaling the true volume, which is how much accumulation has happened, minus how much is being shorted or sold, we get what the actual volume of the days were. Assuming people were accumulating all this, by April 7th, we had hit an accumulated volume twice the number of float shares. And we're zooming in on our graph. Somewhere around here, wherever we doubled, we went from 001 to 002. Why? Well, because the number of float shares were starting to roll over each other. We hang around 003. And then we approach the 8th. We head into the 8th with the float shares already having doubled over already doubled over each other, and we're hit with an enormous volume pressure around here, causing double gaps and a run. Now this run occurs because we've already accumulated all the float shares, and it's being sold for higher and higher and higher until the price gets a little bit too high and everyone just says, I'm not buying at that price. This exact same principle can be applied to EENF. Where we can clearly see the 1.2 billion float on EENF has been gobbled up here. The rest of this is just people flipping shares, whatever's remaining, on top of each other. Going back to RGBP, now there are a couple investors in this, so this actually needs to be slashed, I know for sure, by 5%. Possibly more. People are still holding. It looks like a lot of people sold here. But with this strategy, all you're really looking for is for the accumulation. So all the volumes minus the shorts of the days to be to be greater than RGBP. Once that happens, this thing is ripe to explode. So like this is not a coincidence that this just, all this news started happening. You have people loading up way before all this. Look at this buy here. Almost the entire float. 500 million. Quiet, slowly letting those shares out, higher and higher. And then the thing blows up. Because ONPH puts out a news release saying that they're going to be using some of their mRNA IP. Now, all the people here have to buy from this guy who bought everything at 0013. He is in control. I don't know if that's a group or if it's a firm, but it's very intelligent. So if you're in this stock and you bought at 5, you bought at 4, maybe you bought at 6, and you're thinking, well, this POS is going down. It's going down because it's in control by someone else. And until this guy is out, until this is over, you will not be able to control this, no matter how much you buy. Unless you can buy that many shares at this price now, the stock will continue to decline or do what he wants. However, once enough accumulation here has occurred and he's out of the picture, the stock can take another run. And that is why I'm still hawking this stock. I'd set the timeline for this stock anywhere from 2 to 6 months. I think this is going to be a longer ride. I'd love to give an opinion on where this is going to stop. It seems like we have an accumulation bottom here at the 3 cents, but we do have 2 gaps up right here. So do the gaps need to be filled? Well, sometimes they let them get filled. Other times they don't. If you want to be bullish, you can buy now. If you can think it's going to go bearish and then bullish, you can wait. You might get your fill at 2 cents. However, this goes up, don't count your pennies on the fact that you're going to get more from 2 cents than you are 3 cents, because you might miss this bottom. So my advice, put a small entry position here, wait. If it starts running, slam that thing. That's the best I know I would be able to do. but patience is the name of the game. So you've seen this, you've seen RGP, you've heard my opinions. Again, same story with the float shares being bought out, which seems to be a common theme in the OTC, which is what we're going to be talking about next. Trends and repetitive behaviors. So trends and repetitive behavior. I want you guys to note, this went up on the 8th. And we're going to look at about 16 other stocks here, including RGBP, EENF, LTNC, and Viper. So what's the trend? Well, RGP went up on the 8th. We look at EENF, went up on the 8th, and it went to 8, and also went to 8. LTNC, February 8th. Viper rocketed on the 8th. LTNC also on March 8th did its second climb. We're looking at others. INND, February 8th, massive climb. March 8th, had a gap up. April 8th, did another climb. MCET, accumulation was on the 8th, and this didn't go up till the 12th, but the accumulation does happen here. ADGO, February 8th. AZLF on the 8th. February 8th. March the 8th, another climb. TGGI, February 8th. March 8th. Wolf D, February 8th. We saw another rise on March 8th. April 8th, going into a downfall, which is interesting because this actually breaks the trend. Coincidentally, that was one of the latest ones. Went up on February 8th, went up again on March 8th. Did not go up on April 8th. It actually continued its downtrend to the 16th. Life Clips, I don't know what this company does. They are saying they're doing AI with brain to computer interface technology. I don't think it's a good buy. Would not recommend this one. One, their website is absolute trash. Two, this needed to be done 10 years ago, the technology they're talking about doing, using headbands for programs. That's been done. Lots of companies in Canada. There's Muse. In the States, you got Elon Musk with Neuralink. You're not going to beat him. I would not invest in this one, but whatever's running, I'm buying. You got February 8th, March the 8th, April 8th, kind of had a run. Look at this date right here. Tuesday, Wednesday, kind of an accumulation day, runs up on the 12th for a dump. In situations like this, the group here is probably a smaller group like Atlas or Timothy Skies, just running a stock up. That's previously had some type of social media traction. We're not going to go into it today, but there is actually a scale for measuring social media engagement, or how popular the stock's symbols are being tweeted, things like that. Do not make it does influence day trader investments to a certain degree. Now anyways, we're going to talk about this trend. What the hell is going on with the 8s? Are people just accumulating massively on the 8th? Why are the stocks going up on the 8th? You know, what's so special about the number 8? You know, we can see in all these 16 recent runners, the 8th. The 8th is the day. Well, you could say it's China. It has to be a foreign investment coming in, because 8 does mean fortune or wealth. In Asian cultures, that's what it symbolizes. So my first guess was, people are buying the floats out around here, preparing it for an explosive boom. And then Chinese investors are coming in saying, oh, look, great fortune. Today's the 8th. They had good news. Blowing the stock up. Going back to RGBP quickly, this stock is not doing bad. If you were to draw a line from here to the 3rd, this is natural growth from here to here. Everything up to 8 cents, that is all aggressive buy pressure and probably FOMO and hype on Twitter. So none of this is real. You don't want to ever buy when these things are peaking unless you think it's going to run twice as far. However, if you look at all of the last runners, you see these things are capping around 7 or 8 cents. Right? That's where the gains people are targeting. Right around there. So what does this tell us? That Chinese buyers are coming in around the 8th? Most likely not. You're having accumulation, massive accumulation, up until these dates. So this is occurring, around the first week or a bit before even. It was a bit before in RGBP. You're having this massive accumulation where the float shares are being bought out, as we see again with RGBP. This has been occurring since the 24th, 25th. Now, how the hell someone bought over, actually no, that might actually be exactly the float, 600 million? That doesn't make any sense. Whatever the case, you see this go from 1.3 to 0.02. What does that tell you? The float's been blown out. Sorry, not blown out, bought out. And you're starting to see that trend of it doubling over itself. Now, the tactic on these is that, in my opinion, is that if you buy the float shares out, you're taking a large cut of the pie out of the picture. So, with 568 million shares out, if you take away 500 shares out of the picture, the only thing remaining is the actively traded shares, which is going to be around 68 million. So everyone here is doing nothing but flipping their amount of shares, which is the actively traded shares. Now with RGBP, you have the float shares on the website. However, on Yahoo Finances of what their float shares are, that is not accurate at this time, because we can say 500 million shares has been taken out from this stock. And as this is running up, you're seeing dips, or you're seeing whatever. That is the guy selling on you. So when you're buying around here and you're not in position over, under a cent or under 2 cents, you're being sold onto. And that will occur until another huge, massive catalyst happens. However, we're talking about the trend here. We already talked about RGBP. So what's the trend here? And how long has this trend been going on? Well, actually, we did do a little bit of due diligence. And with ENZC, it was a recent runner. This happened back in February, all the way back December, November, October, September 2020. Sure as shit, again, we're seeing around the 8th. You know, we're seeing the massive volume spikes happening after the 8th, or going into the 8th, massive volume. November 9th, November 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Around here, it's going up. Now, initially I thought it was Chinese, like, foreign investment flowing in, buying out these floats. But after second thought, I've realized that it's actually going into, it can be going into the 8th, or it can be leaving the 8th. However, it is always the first week of the month. That is the important thing. That is what is happening. People are buying out the floats in the first week of the month, allowing only a small amount of float shares to basically flip over each other, selling as it goes up. However, we're going from November, we're going into December. November, right at 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, again on the 8th, we hit a peak. But it's not, the 8 isn't always important. It's not always going to land on the 8th. It's going into the 8th, or going past the 8th. It's the first week. So our first week starts on December 1st. We hit a bottom. You know, we blow up pretty near a double here. We're coming down, scrolling along. Going into January 8th, again, the first week, December 31st, January. Oh, the stock's not really doing anything. Day traders are selling. We hit a bottom on 06. And January 8th, all the way up. We continue to climb. End of the month, people start taking profits. Coming down, coming down, coming down. First week of February. Boom. We hit almost $1 on ENZC. Now, I find this historic data very interesting because it is all the way back to almost 6 months ago. So this has been happening for almost 6 months. We're going to take a look at Humble now. Okay, we're coming into November, first week of November, loading zone. Around the 8th, first week. Everyone holds, it goes up to there. And then we crash on the first week. Somebody here sells. Get our first dip. Then we run. Peak on December 8th. Right on the 7th, right on the 8th, right there. Comes down, comes down, comes down. Down we go. Forming a support around the 7th, the first week of December to January 7th. Right around here is your support. Then we have a run. Up until January 25th, 26th, we get a bit of sell-off, forming a new bottom. First week of February, this stock explodes right up until $7. So how long did that take? That only took 004, 002. Is there one in there? Maybe. To make this gain to $7, this took 3 months. This is one of the biggest stocks I think I've ever seen in my life. But that's what you have to set your time frame as, you know. 3 months. I'm going to hold this stock for 3 months. You know, you can see where this gets jittery around, you know, $1, right? And you've bought at 90 and you're seeing it go to 40. You're like, oh shit, I better sell. But then you're going to lose half your money. You're not going to sell. Why? Because it's going to go up if it continues its trend. If, you know, the news keeps coming out and it gets uplisted to a NASDAQ or more catalysts are coming, you need to hold for that. If the catalysts don't come, that's when you sell and you take the hit. But this was a monster stock. So even if you bought at $1 and then you end up selling, well, you're going to end up paying twice as much when it starts running up. But that historic data does give us, some insight around, what's happening in the OTC. Why is this only running up? It's not on the 8th like we see here. Like 8, freaking 8. You got 8 again, February, going to February 8th. So what is happening with all of these stocks? And these are the popular runners on the OTC. So this is up for discussion. Leave your comments on the YouTube video or hit me up on Twitter, send me a DM. But the trend is that the plays start at the start of the month. Start every month. It's been about 3 months since I've been on the OTC actively, watching every single stock, watching the market movers. But this is the trend. People or big groups are buying their stocks at the start of the month. They're not just buying the stocks. They're buying out the entire fucking float. So they're buying out the float. What does that mean? It means that this is going to go on a run. That RGBP, someone is holding all the float shares. There's an investor with 5%, and then whoever else this big player is bought the float shares out and is now selling them all the way up. When you want to buy shares, you're buying from this guy. That happened on ENF as well. What do we see here? We see volume. So on top of looking at supports, resistance, all your technical analysis, you also need to look for this. You need to look to see, has the float been bought out? And if it has, you need to decide if this is going to form a trend, which is going to go for a run. Because from here, from 0.01, 0.051, you're not going to see double zeros again when this starts running. And if you want to make the most gains, you do need to buy at the 00s. Was the 88 Energy a bad call? No, it was running. It was the right call. But you do have to do some de-risking as well. Sell these peaks. Cover your investment at least. But I am getting a little bit sick of people saying, "Oh, why is my stock going down? Why is the price continuing to drop? Like, why does this have to close the gap?" Well, I'll tell you why. Because some very intelligent person bought the float out before this trend started. Now, why is it going up on the 8th? Is that when the Chinese come in? Or the Asian communities? No, it's most likely when that news hits. This can be any date. It can be the 8th, the 10th, 12th, 14th, 16th, 24th, whatever. But as long as that float's been bought out, that's how you know that this stock is going to be a runner. Because again, when the float shares have been bought out, the only thing left to do is to sell those shares at a higher price. Now you can't gauge how high this is going to go. However, you're most likely going to see a run up to 1 or 2 or 3. And if it catches on social media, we're talking Twitter, we're talking TikTok, YouTube, whatever the outlet is, everything from 4 cents to 8 cents, that is all hype and FOMO. That is nothing more than hype and FOMO. And that is, the max peak of where shares are being dished out higher and higher and higher, and people are just not even watching the price anymore. It's just going to run. Because the person setting the ask price is not you when you're holding, let's say 1 million shares. It's going to be the guy holding almost, almost the float, right? Right around here. That's where you see a huge chunk of the float has been bought out. So from now on, as a personal rule of thumb, I'm going to be investing at the start of each month. I'm going to be looking for smaller plays, things hitting a bottom. This was a great play on RGBP. This play here made me about $5,000 or $6,000, waiting for it to hit this bottom, watching it, ran up to 5, sell. That's 20%, 20, 30. Actually, sorry, 30, about 30, 60. Now on this stock, I wish it did not sell, because you are probably not going to see double zeros again, which is unfortunate. So now if this goes up, you've lost your position to make that huge, ginormous gain. But that's okay. I mean, it is a stock, and you do have to eat. You do have to, continue to make money until you can make this huge play on one stock. This is what makes you a millionaire right here, is this play. When you see someone buy out a float and it goes for a massive run. So just to reiterate, the trend we're seeing is that people are buying or overloading or buying the float shares before the 8th, so before the first week. There probably isn't anything special about the 8th. It just happens to be after the 7th, after the first week. You could call it a conspiracy and say it's, Asian culture, and it symbolizes great fortune, but it's more likely that people are buying these stocks out at the start of the month. Then, slowly people post about it going up on Twitter or on YouTube or on TikTok. Now on RGBP, right after the spike, you had again. Sorry, just had to find an article there. You have Regen Biopharma about to become a major pharmaceutical player. Yeah, what a crock of shit! Nice fucking pump. So you have news outlets catching on around here, which is also moving the stock up after the action has already happened. However, at that time, you're still buying that guy's shares. See that little sneaky guy? He can sell wherever he wants from 001. I want a new Lamborghini? Cool, I'm going to sell at 4 cents. Oh, maybe I'm going to buy a property over in the Caribbeans. Maybe I'll sell them at 5 cents. Boom. Anyways, we're talking about this because, people are talking about market movers pushing the price down. Market movers are not in control unless the market movers are the people buying here, which is very possible. But if you had $1 million, you could have bought the stock out, and you could have been the guy who dumps at 8. Because I'm telling you, as soon as I get $1 million from the OTC, I will be the guy doing that. Because there is no foul play here, right? It is just, complete domination of the stock price these people have. They can sell wherever they want. They can steer the thing down. They can, relax. As you see here, 100 million, 150 million. They relax. It starts going back up. Then they sell. That is the purpose of putting position way earlier than the stock. Now, how do you find these things? You're probably going to have to get insider information to do that. Or you're just in the right place at the right time. If you caught this at 0.002, that's good enough as well. And in hindsight, one of the things I did not look for, I bought this on the fly. I did not look right away to see if the float had been bought out, because that's where you have your runner. And in my opinion, with all these stocks, we have 16 stocks. Let's say you had $16 million. Okay, what do you do with that $16 million? Well, I'm going to go place bets on each of these stocks, right? And I'm going to buy out the floats. Then I'm going to go to social media, get it trending, because it is easier to convince people online. And we all know, you're probably going to be able to reach out to, 500,000, 1 million people on Twitter. If you have a big following base on YouTube, that's going to be the stock that's going to get pumped. If you're on TikTok, you're going to bring on, let's say, another 100,000 people. And if each person puts in at least $100, you're going to get this. And what do you get? Stocks that blow up and that people bitch about as it's coming down. You have INND. Why the fuck isn't that going anywhere? A lot of people are asking. It's being moved up, it's coming down, it's going up, coming down. Not really following a true resistance or support pattern. ADGO, that thing needs to go up because I bought it at 4 cents. Or did I buy it around here where I thought the support would be? I'm really hoping IND does go up, because I can't do anything but hold right now because it's self-explanatory. It's too low. It's not worth selling. AZLF is another one I've been holding since 4.5. I sold it the other day because I do not understand where it is going. It broke below 4.5, or it keeps hitting 4.5. It might be back on a downtrend, and it might actually close this little tabletop here and come back to 0.002, unless it gets a catalyst. Wolf D, I was never a buyer into social life networks. I imagine it's going to close right back down here unless it gets a catalyst and keeps running. People talk about, every 5 cents or whatever, you get new investors coming on board. I don't actually think that's the case. I think you have people that come on board and hammer the living hell out of the stock around while it's running, which, amplifies the already, the hype and the FOMO that's spreading on Twitter, and it's spreading through Discords, any chat forums, social media. That's what's running these things up. But RGBP is on a natural growth curve, right? Like, you're probably not going to see the double zeros again. LTNC, that's another one ramping up into the end of the month, dumping on the 8th, at the 8th, right? 8 dump. So that is what is happening in the OTC. Big groups are coming in, they're buying the stocks out on the week leading up to the 8th. It's the first week of the month where these trends are forming. And my intellectual guess here is that, if I had $16 million, let's buy 16 different stocks that we think we can pump up. 1, by getting actual news from them, and then 2, by use of social engineering is what it is, right? You're pumping a stock up on all these social media channels. You got people like Insider Financial coming on board, pumping it up even more. That is what is occurring. So when you buy out the float, like we see around here, buy the float out, you let it grow a little bit, you know, it brews, and then it boils. It boils over. People start trading, you know, around from 100 to 50 million shares of a stock that has a float of 500 million or even a billion. It blows up, dump, 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 dump. So that is the trend that I see happening here. You know, with all your recent popular stocks, and even going back to NZC and Humble, you can literally see, and honestly check for yourself and shoot me a message if I'm right. You know, these are occurring within the first weeks of the month. Run up. November, run. January, run. February, huge run. You know, so, you know, as a trader, you know, I would say I was day trading before. I'm going to stop day trading. I'm going to start looking for catches at the starts of the month, because that is what it seems like, you know, is going on. Like, these groups ram them up, not intentionally. You know, it's likely that they're placing large bets on a diverse portfolio, and then people start talking about it on Twitter, and then the bigger people on Twitter, you know, the medium-sized people, start talking about it, and it goes for a run. So how would you describe it? Well, it's amplifying on itself. You know, it's a chain reaction that starts with someone buying out the float. Right? We get the float bought out around here. The float's bought out. The stock's starting to move. It's starting to move. Then the news catalyst hits. Like a SEC filing comes out. Right? It goes up. You know, around 3 cents is a fair price for the stock that has a lot of potential. You know, this line right here should be connected over to here. But then we get social engineering kicks in. And that's where the chain reaction happens and runs to 8. So that's why I will never buy around 8 cents again unless something is running with lots of volume, lots of power behind it. I did not buy this at 8. I did continue to shove on 88 energy while it was running up. But we'll call that a 10 grand learning experience. Oh God. Whatever. You know, you take hits, you run. You know, that's what this is. This is war. You know, the battle can be lost, but the war is never over. You keep fighting till you get to 1 million. You keep fighting till you get to 10 million. That's what we're here to do. So, with that in mind, I did make my money back on RGBP. I would have loved to help hold it, but unfortunately did take a hit on 88 energy, and I could not. But we're going to be watching extraordinarily closely going into the next month. And I'm going to be checking every single stock on the market movers every single day, looking for volumes. Because the next runner, you know, may not be 88 energy. Look at it now, it's not running. It ran up, it had its run. Obviously with 88 energy, their drilling season hasn't started. But the OTC is a little bit of a graveyard, you know, stocks that have fallen down so far. So some of these could be scams. You know, you gotta be on your toes for this stuff. But from here on out, I'm going to be looking for people who are buying out the floats, because these big runners, you know, we're looking at the top 16 runners, the most active ones. You see them on Twitter, you see them on YouTube, wherever, on social media. Out of all the runners, it was 88 energy. I was on that. Another runner was RGBP. I was on that. LTNC is the one I did miss, you know, 3 months ago in February. I wasn't trading when Humble and ENZC was active, but that would have been the runner, right? every single month there's going to be a runner. That is the trend line right now. You know, there's a group saying, hey, we can blow the hell up or the hell out of a stock by buying out the float. And now with that information, you know what to look for. You need to look to see if the volume here is approaching the float shares. You know, within a range of 60 to at least 80%, right? Because I imagine that this could be foreign investment trickling in around here, but I also imagine it's probably someone who's been doing this for quite a long time and understands that they need to buy the float out in order for a stock to move. That's how simple it is. You buy the float out. Big news comes, huge news, like 88 Energy news. We've hit 1 billion barrels of oil. How this did not keep to proceed or even stay around 5 is another story. But you get that massive news, a huge wave takes off. It's not a scam. It's incredibly strategic. At first I was thinking that it is illegal, so that therefore it had to be foreign investment. We have the symbol of the 8 coming up all the time. The amount of 8s on these stocks is just makes you go insane. But on the 8th to the 8th, right? Like LTNZ on the 8th to the 8th, right? And I encourage you guys to take a look at this. Look at these stocks that I'm looking at, verify it. But it's more likely that people are buying the floats out heading into the first week of a month, saying, okay, maybe they're calling companies, doing advanced research. It's most likely a firm. Is the stock being shorted? On RGBP, I would say no, because you have mass selling from this range, right? And the amount of shares you could have gotten here are much, much, much more greater than the amount of shares you could buy here. So this guy, is probably sitting on the entire float, selling it slowly, right? Or selling it whenever he wants a new vehicle. With 88 Energy, I do think this got shorted. It was a strategic short nonetheless. People willing to give their shares out at a lower price. And you also had a bit of a bottleneck happening on the weekend where you had to hold for the big news, right? If you were one of the people that did get hit on 88 Energy, remember that for the future. Don't hold if the news is coming over the weekend, because they're probably doing that because it's going to be bad and they want investors to stay in, which is not what's going to happen. Everyone's just going to sell the damn stock off, and someone's going to offer to pay for your shares at 1 cent, which is where 88 Energy opened on April the 5th. Sorry, the 6th. So anyways, to summarize, what did we look at? And what's the trend we found? All the stocks that are current or being, not pumped, but mentioned on social media outlets, and the next tier up is, on sites like this piece of garbage, Investor Financial. Random, you'll start seeing in random news links. That is all happening going into the first week of the month for each one of these 16 stocks. To be the most successful investor, you need to be good at positioning. Whether it's buying at a resistance or a support, or if it's catching something before it hits the market. You need to catch these before the 8th. The 8th is the last day when it runs, or it's going up into the 8th. Wherever that is, regardless, the first week is extraordinarily key, because people might be dumping on the 8th or after the 8th. They might be buying into the 8th, but it's not the 8th itself, it's the first week of the month. And with the OTC, it seems like there's a new great story every single month. That is what is happening. So if you're watching this, the OTC mystery is the magic happens in the first week. That is the scam. Not really a scam. The strategic placement of shares happens in the first week. So if you hadn't caught RGBP, which is the most recent ticker to go, I'd recommend holding until this month ends. You know, this might see another fly. I don't really have the capital to rebuy because of that 88 energy hit. If I did, I would be holding. This does have a chance to go up. It really does. However, I made the same call on 88 energy, and look where that went. But that was a discovery company, whereas RGBP has not done its discovery yet. You know, I was a big buyer into a company called Vaxel Bio. Vaxel Bio was a company that was doing a COVID vaccine. And I'll never forget, you know, I was just scrolling through YouTube looking to try and find other people who made videos on YouTube, like on their investment groups, you know, try and engage with the community online. And I came across this whack job. I forget his name, but he said the most intelligent thing I think I have ever heard, which was buy biotech stocks that are researching COVID vaccines listed on the World Health Organization sheet. So I said, okay, well, there's no way that's true. And I went online and I looked World Health Organization vaccine candidate lists. You know, you had Pfizer, you had all the German companies. Going down the list, you had, you know, companies that were anywhere from $100, $200 down to $1. And then I found Vaxel Bio, you know, this piece of garbage at 8 cents, ran to 70. You know, they went through trials, they went through whatever else, it was looking positive. They didn't have the best results on the second one, but people were still there. And then boom, right here is where they hit the conclusion of the clinical trials of the second one. Boom, it drops. So that's where I got started. You know, that was my big hit on Vaxel Bio. Crazy guy on YouTube. I swear the guy just looked like he was off the streets. He looked like a, you know, absolute drug addict. But he did say something intelligent, and I bothered to listen. And what he said was, there is a who list with all these companies on it. Take a look. Buy into those companies. They're what's moving right now. And he was right. You know, he hit the trend. And the trend was, we're in the COVID pandemic. Purpose of sharing that story is that you need to find the trend. What's happening now? And you need to be able to nail it to a T. So if you were going to buy into a company like RGBP, why would you buy in right now? Well, because you might see this. You might see ONPH is testing their, you know, going into clinical trials. You know, they're validating it, they're testing it. Maybe the IP goes somewhere, maybe it doesn't. I don't care, because I want to be able to sell up here. You know, you take a look at ENZC. I don't know what happened to this company. I haven't been following it, but I imagine, you know, they've ramped up to the 20s. and then went into clinical trials testing their products and stuff, right? Like, that's what happens. Especially in biotech, that is where these stories go. You know, successful phase 1, more investors come on board. Phase 2 successful, more investors. Phase 3 comes on board. Oh, we failed. Oh, it got dumped. That's it. That's, you know, how an unsuccessful biotech company goes. If it is successful, then you're going to be seeing, you know, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, $100, right? So it's not too late to buy RGBP if you do think that they are going to go for a run. I most certainly am bullish on it. You know, I might see my 3 cents go to 2 cents. I'm not selling again because I've already lost $1,000 trying to reposition myself, which is a stupid freaking thing to do, but I don't know why I'm doing that. Anyways, I'm rambling on at this point. I've showed you guys the trend, told you guys a story about Vaxel Bio, Regen Biopharma. I think there's another run in it. Amount of time I would gauge, give it 2 to 3 months, in my opinion. And besides that, yeah, leave a comment, shoot me a message, tell me what you think about the this conspiracy theory of the 8s. And I wish all the best to you guys, and hope this provides some insight on this massive trend that's happening on the first weeks of the month and how to pick your next runner.